This is Valley News Live at noon.
Authorities have released the name of the 51-year-old Crookston man who was severely injured after running into a bridge pillar on I-29. The crash happened around 5 p.m. on Monday near the Reynolds exit. Highway Patrol says Richard Kangsier was driving his Suburban southbound on I-29 at highway speeds when the vehicle left the highway and struck a pillar head-on. Kangsier was brought to All True Hospital to be treated for his injuries. It looks like a windy but beautiful day outside. Let's throw things over to First Alert Storm Team Summer Schnellbach.
Yeah, especially in the Southern Valley, parts of Lakes countries where we're seeing some of these stronger winds today. And this is our view from the Dakota Magic Casino along the North Dakota, South Dakota border. Temperatures, though, are looking pretty nice this afternoon. Most of us in the 40s. We're at 48 already here in Fargo. Winds out of the north, 21 miles per hour. Not quite as windy in places like northeastern North Dakota. Devil's Lake seeing wind around 9 miles per hour, 41 degrees. Satellite and radar showing those mostly clear skies, and that's how it's expected to stay for the rest of the afternoon. Here's a look at those wind speeds. The area highlighted in yellow, that's where we're seeing those stronger gusts. Brainerd, just off to our east, a recent gust to 44 miles per hour, gusting to 32 in Fergus Falls and in Alexandria. And this is where the potential for fire weather is a little elevated today due to very dry air, dry soils, and those elevated winds as well. It will remain breezy through the rest of this afternoon, Tatum. Some good news, less wind, at least some days in the upcoming forecast, but we're going to talk more about the warm-up that's just around the corner.
Oh, I'm excited for that.
I think a lot of people are, yeah.
Thank you, Summer. A Grand Forks man facing several charges related to an alleged assault of a minor is expected to be in court today. Jahan Stafford is accused of holding down a girl and assaulting her in her bedroom back on February 20th. He says he was pretending to be a burglar. Stafford's charges include felony gross sexual imposition, child abuse, and felonious restraint. He is expected in Grand Forks County Court at 1:30 this afternoon. Now to recent developments on a story we've been following for months about a young girl who says she was raped by multiple men in Bemidji. Yesterday, Beltrami County Attorney David Hansen announced he is dropping the sexual assault charge against the only man ever charged in this case, Oscar Luna. Last September, an 11-year-old girl reported that she was tied up and sexually assaulted by multiple men in a house that matched the description of this one in Bemidji. Inside, authorities say they found 11 men who were processed as undocumented immigrants along with a U.S. citizen from Texas named Oscar Luna. The attorney says DNA collected from the girl proves that she was sexually assaulted. However, it does not match any of the men from the house. Hansen says this case involves a little girl who experienced an unthinkable trauma, and for the prosecution to conclude with an outcome of no charges is itself another trauma, both for the victim and for all of the individuals who have put their heart and souls into this case. 3 people have been arrested tied to yesterday morning's stolen vehicle crash in South Fargo near Lewis and Clark Elementary. They are 18-year-old Landrew Azur of Cheyenne, 23-year-old Kiara Lovejoy from Bismarck, and 31-year-old Kyle Mazeshak, also from Bismarck. They face an array of charges ranging from fleeing to stealing a vehicle to firearms and possession of meth. Just before 10 a.m. yesterday, police got a report that a white pickup truck had crashed into a fence near the I-94 in the pedestrian bridge. Police say those involved took off running. Officers then set up a perimeter and brought in a K-9 unit. The search sent the nearby school into a lockdown. A Fargo man is facing charges after allegedly hitting a pedestrian with his vehicle and leaving the scene. It happened during the snowy conditions just before 12:30 p.m. Tuesday of last week. Court documents say a woman's vehicle slid into a snowbank and 55-year-old Derek McLaren ran into someone who stopped to help that woman get her car unstuck. Then they say McLaren drove away. Police say he later admitted to drinking approximately a fifth of vodka during the day. Officers say they found 2 bottles of alcohol in his pickup. At least 9 people are dead after Taiwan's strongest earthquake in 25 years rocked the island during morning rush hour. The 7.4 magnitude quake injured more than 1,000. CBS's Leah Mishkin reports from London.
A shocking scene as rescuers race to save people from a collapsed building in Taiwan. This dramatic video shows the moment it fell. The deadly earthquake hit as commuters were making their way to work and school on the island of 23 million people. Landslides and debris shut down highways. The impact so strong it was felt in neighboring China, sending school children running. Others in Taiwan took cover with protective gear. Authorities issued tsunami warnings in Taiwan and Japan. Both have since been lifted.
I've felt some earthquake, but nothing like this.
Yoli Seipang had just arrived from California. She was in her hotel room when the 7.4 magnitude quake woke her up.
The whole room was shaking.
Crews have worked around the clock to rescue dozens of people trapped inside buildings, tunnels, even a coal mine. As night fell in Taiwan, authorities warned of more tremors in the days ahead. And the White House said the U.S. is ready to offer assistance. Leah Mishkin, CBS News, London.
The economic fallout from the quake has yet to be calculated. The island is home to Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, a major supplier of chips to Apple and NVIDIA. Mother Nature at it again, this time unleashing tornadoes and damaging wind gusts. As of early this morning, there have been over 120 storm reports across Ohio and Tennessee River valleys, including several tornadoes. Tornadoes were also reported in Alabama, Georgia, Illinois, Kentucky, and Ohio. Storm threats will push along the East Coast through today. The City of Fargo Planning Commission is bringing up a number of concerns regarding a new concert venue coming to Fargo. The commission voted unanimously last night to grant 701 Collective LLC and Jade Presents a conditional use permit to bring a new concert venue and outdoor event space to 1329 Fifth Avenue North near downtown. During Tuesday's meeting, the Planning Commission brought up concerns about pedestrian safety due to the proximity of the railroad tracks and limited parking in the area. What was voted on and approved Tuesday is a conditional use permit. Each event would still need about 3 to 4 other permits, including a noise permit. There is currently no limit on how loud events can be, though they are required to be done by 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday and 11 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. They hope to have the venue up and running by this summer. Train horns are going to be honking again through the quiet zone in downtown Moorhead. The city says train horns will resume during construction hours as they work on the 11th Street Underpass project. That's Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. and that project is just getting underway and it isn't expected to be complete until 2026. The train horns are to prioritize worker safety, and the city adds train engineers can sound their horns for a multitude of reasons, whether it be for safety or something they see on the track. If you have a complaint, you're urged to contact BNSF. With warmer weather on the way, golf courses across the region are opening this week, with some even opening today. Moorhead Parks and Recreation opened the driving ranges at Village Green and the Meadows at 9 this morning. Both courses will open at 11 a.m. on Friday. And in Fargo, driving ranges and practice facilities at Rose Creek, Osgood, and Edgewood public golf courses are opening at 10 on Friday morning. All 18 holes at Rose Creek will be open at noon on Friday. They plan to make an announcement when the remaining courses are ready to open too. Cellar 624 and Renaissance Sound Healing are preparing up to bring a wine tasting and sound immersion event to Fargo. Tomorrow from 6:30 to 8:30, you can attend this ultimate relaxation experience and not only sample some of the Cellar signature wines, but see how Jen Olson uses the frequencies of Himalayan singing bowls as a form of vibrational sound healing.
That frequency is, when we listen to that, it's actually more than our brains can process, and it causes our nervous system to just surrender into relaxation.
Information on the event can be found on your VNL News app. You can download and use it for free. Just search VNL News in the App Store today. Coming up, a rare heart condition affects many pregnant women and they may not even know it. We'll have the details on a new study hoping to help later here at noon. But next, Summer will have your full Wednesday forecast to plan your day.